Hi. So, my apologies if the wind's a little loud today. We had kind of a storm last night and it's still pretty windy today. It's a beautiful winter's day again in Maui on this Sunday afternoon. Gonna have to head to work in about 90 minutes. And I was just gonna go off a tiny bit more on the strength training thing, because the last video I put out a couple days ago, I mentioned how George Leeman has a completely different approach, and there's a whole lot of different approaches, but I was gonna specifically talk about his because it is so dramatically different from what I've done. And I think you've heard me mention before that people have different goals and different desires and whatnot, and also there's a lot of people that maybe react to things different too, but in his case I would say the different goals and desires would have a lot to do with the different approaches. Not that his approach might not work in other ways too, but basically with him the goal was maximal size and maximal strength, or it was pretty much maximal strength, because he just kept getting bigger and stronger and bigger and stronger and bigger and stronger until his size messed with his leverages and made him quit making forward progress. So he mentioned how some of the strongest guys in the world, these huge monsters that are like squatting 1,000 pounds, will only have like a 700-pound deadlift. And he said it's because once you get over a certain size, it messes with your leverages and whatnot. So George Leeman, he's a big guy with a big frame. He's like tall and has big dense bones, and so he took himself up to, I don't know where he is right now. I'd say at least 350 when he's competing, but I know he's taken himself up to like 390 a few times. That might have been where his leverages started getting messed up. Maybe when he competes he's a little bit leaner than that, but his goal was to just get as strong as possible because he wanted to break the raw deadlift, which he already did for the American record. He's had a lot of success. So doing this high rep, high weight training routine that he does makes perfect sense in alignment with his goals. Now, if you've watched very many videos on my channel where I'm actually talking about training as opposed to more veganism type stuff, you'll know that I've purposely always wanted to stay a smaller, more normal size. Like, if you've ever read that book Power to the People by that crazy Russian trainer guy, I've got a similar concept where I'm trying to stay as close to normal size as possible and have maximal strength at that size. So I've never tried to get 250 or even 240. I've always tried to be down here in the 210 to 220 pound range, and I've done a good job over the years. I've only gone over a couple times. Once was the strongman contest. So if you did the type of training that George Leeman does, I think it would be extremely difficult to keep your body smaller. And I think for mobility purposes, like being able to run fast and jump high and navigate like all these crazy rocks here where they can go out from under you and balance and things in Kung Fu, that a smaller size is good. So there's always trade-offs. Like if you're a big massive monster, you're gonna have insane stability and not as much mobility. So there's places where you're gonna be super grateful for that stability, and that might fit someone's lifestyle and choices a lot better. But for my specific goals, I wanted the smaller size for the mobility and the speed. And I also just always thought it would be better for my body. It was a intuitive thing. I didn't actually study and read up on it, but it just seemed like for my organs, my blood pressure, my joints and everything, that it would be better not to get massive, not to get super, super huge. So that's what's nice about the normal road to strength training. Like 5x5 will put a little bit of size on you, because that's enough in the mid-range that you do work the muscles a lot and they do grow. But once you use 5x5 to condition your tendons and ligaments and all your little stability muscles and toughen up your joints and stuff, and you drop down to like the doubles and the triples, singles and all that, it does tend to be the case that you can start getting a little bit leaner again. I got leaner. I seemed like I was thicker and more muscular back when I was doing the 5x5, and this right now is a good size, so I'm happy. But like I mentioned, if you go too low, like I fell in love with singles. Well, if you do that all the time, you're conditioning your nervous system and your tendons and ligaments, but then your actual muscles get too weak to move the loads that these other things can handle. So you have to have enough muscle still to actually move the loads. So I was just explaining one of the main reasons that George Leeman does stuff differently, and explaining why I think it makes perfect sense in light of what he does. He's about maximal strength, and he's had extreme results. Like I said, his goal was to be the best raw deadlifter, and he did whatever had to be done. So he's taken a whole lot of stuff I would never take, and he's done things to his body I would never do to my body. And these are trade-offs he willingly made to achieve what he wanted to achieve. And I make different trade-offs to achieve what I want to achieve. For me, health is extremely important. It's the number one goal, as I think it would be for a lot of vegans. So that's why I go about training the way I go about. And even if I did throw everything out the window and go 100% for strength like George Leeman, I would never be like him, because I don't have the same genetic gifts he does. But I would have went further in strength and it would have been fun, but then I would be paying for it now because I'm 40. So at this time, I'm extremely happy with the choices I made and am still making. So I just thought I'd clarify that for anyone who is curious, because obviously if I saw a video from some nobody on a vegan fitness channel and it contradicted something from someone like George Leeman, who is actually world class, why would I listen to the vegan guy? So I was just explaining why the differences exist. So anyway, I hope that helps you out some.